Hi and welcome to High on Coding. I'm your host Mohammad Azam, and this is the second part of the EStudy screencast series that I'm doing. If you haven't checked out the first part, I recommend that you highly do so. So this EStudy application is a ASP.NET MVC project, and it is basically about students and teachers. So students can go to the website and they can take the exam, and teachers are able to upload their exam and to give the exams to the users or the students. Now, what I'm doing right now, or well, some of the developments is in the repository, and basically I have separated the project into a domain model, domain test, repository test, UI test, which is basically integration test. I think I should rename this to integration testing. And then this is the main app, which is the ASP.NET MVC application. A couple of things that I'm using structure map for my IOC dependency injection. I'm using data annotations for, if I go over here, for the validations. So if I go over here, you'll see that this required attribute, which is on the view model, on the first name, last name, username, password, and so on. This is part of the data annotations, okay? And it is, you can download it from the ASP.NET MVC website. So basically this actually validates, and up till now what I'm doing is I'm testing different things. One of the problems, one of the I would say hurdle or a wall, was to validate this part, which is the using data annotations, but also to validate from a database. That is, to if the username already exists, then I have to, include as a broken rule. Okay, that's a broken rule if the username already exists, or if the email already exists. Okay, for that I've created a validator. So we have a user validator. It has a broken rules list or a collection, and it is only valid when there are no broken rules, and it has access to the repository, so it can go to the database and fetch different things when it needed. Over here, this is quite, I know you might be wondering that this doesn't look very good, and I agree with you. I can use specification pattern over here and kind of like, distribute the classes or distribute the behavior into different classes, like username validation class, email validation, or email specification. But anyway, for right now, I just have these methods over here in the same class, which is the user validator, and it validates that if the user name already exists in the database or not. And same goes with the email, if the email exists in the database or not. In order to test this, I have my test, which is in the domain, and I have test. And one thing to notice is that how the tests are actually named. So I'm using behavior-driven development to name my test so it's more readable. So I can say when duplicate username is passed, should get duplicate username broken rule. Okay, and when duplicate email is passed, should get duplicate email broken rule. And you can actually see I'm using Rhino mocks over here to mock the repository, because I don't actually need to go to database and find out that if that user already exists or not with the username. And same with the same with the email. So I just mock out the repository, and I'm saying that, hey, repository, whenever I say get by username, you will just return me a user. I don't really care. You don't have to go to database, and you will just return me a user. And then I'm passing the fake or the stubbed user repository to the user validator. It validates the user, and then it adds a broken rule. And basically what I check over here is that the broken rule type is of that kind. If I go to the broken rule type, you can actually see that there are two types: duplicate username, duplicate email. If I have some other types, I can actually arrange it over here as a broken rule type. I guess it's a simple enum type. Next actually is let me go to the user repository. There are some tests over here. As you can see, when user is inserted, should insert user successfully. Basically I'm checking over here different kind of method, but I'm checking that if it's greater than 0, user ID is actually triggered and it's updated. So you can see there are different rules going on. Then there's when adding user with duplicate email, should not insert user. Over here I'm also saying that the user is actually not inserted, so the Joe user, which has the same email as another user, his ID will not be incremented and it will be 0. Okay, so let's go and run the application. If you run the application, it will look something like this. Of course, the this is pretty, standard. So if I say, okay, Azam Sharp, password whatever, and if I type my email, and if I go and say register me, okay, so it's going to say, okay, registration, the user has been created, and if you go to the database, it is created. Right? If I do this again, and if I say, okay, this is like John and Doe, and I'm using, let's say John Doe, and I'm using my the same email address which already has been registered. So if I click, you will say that the email should be unique. Now, in order for the user validator to know or to access or to merge the rules with the data annotation, because I also have data annotations over here. So if I go over here and do this, you will see that the data annotations are also fired, but it also goes to the database and checks that if this is a username or the email is valid or not. So how this is done, or how this is concatenated, is that I am extending where it's, if I can just find it, here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm extending the broken rule over here, and I'm just adding, I'm iterating through the broken rule, and I'm adding it into a ModelState dictionary. Okay, and when I use my controller into the registration or the register action, you will see that I'm merging these two together. So I'll say ModelState.merge, and I will convert all the broken rules that are generated from a deeper level, from a I will say a repository level, or just before the repository level. They are merged into the UI display, okay, into the model state, which is responsible for displaying the errors on the page. So it's kind of like a model state is kind of like a position to hold some data for the request or the lifetime of the request. Okay, so it will be displayed again. That's pretty much it. You can go to GitHub and download it. Let me go and show you the URL. Oops, I think I'm going somewhere else now. Here we go, GitHub. So if you go to GitHub, you can download this project. This is the clone URL, git at github.com, and then Azam Sharp and all that stuff. So you can download it, you can clone it, and you can see the progress, that how the project is actually going. Okay. One last thing, visit High on Coding, bookmark it, subscribe the podcast. If you have any videos that you would like to see, you can always email me at azamsharp@gmail.com. Any comments, anything, you can email me. And one last note, donations. High on Coding do need your donations. As you can see, creating video takes about 30 to 60 minutes. And then after that, if I have to produce to HD format, which takes a lot of time. So please, if you can, please donate. Your donation will be used for to give the monthly bandwidth usage, and also the hosting cost, and to hire and to create more videos. Thank you very much, and enjoy the screencast.